about what we didn't finish off with, about the story of who the toxic male in the room is.
I think so.
We were watching. We were watching the Bledisloe last year, but and after not watching rugby for a long time, if you have watched Rucks and Rolls episode 1, then you know that we share our history, our association with rugby. I used to write a rugby blog. I used to be a rugby journalist, and we both just love rugby.
Yeah, I'm a professional watcher of rugby.
A very good watcher because you absolutely understand and can call the game and you know what's going on before it happens.
As much
That
as
is,
I can.
you've got a fly half mind, which I absolutely love.
So do you.
But, well, thank you, darling. What we didn't fully explain as to why I exhibit signs of being a toxic male. I'm
It's
so
okay. It's
sorry.
okay. Do it.
We were watching the Bledisloe and I explained, and I was trying to say that the captain of the Wallabies at that time, who is a prop, and had an Achilles heel problem, his Achilles tendon. Okay, that's great, but then you shouldn't be captain of the Wallabies, and you shouldn't be at that level. And I don't know what's happening. And listen to me, this is the toxic male coming at me. So I was worse when it actually happened because it happened within minutes of kickoff. And I was livid. I was just like, and Dwayne is looking at me and, well, he's not, I don't know, he's looking at me because I'm staring and yelling at the screen. And I'm like, get up, there is no reason to fall, get up. And Dwayne's like, what did you say to me? Like, babe, it's okay. It's just a game, you know.
He's allowed to, I don't know what I said.
And also because I was
more,
complaining about the scrums.
I was
because,
more amused by what was happening.
And
To my wife.
that, yes, and my husband is the one who's saying, babe, it's okay, it's okay. And I'm like, no, it's not okay. Get up.
But I get where you're coming from, but at the same time.
I'm a Gen Xer. I'm sorry.
But at the same time.
At the same time, you are very right. No, it's absolutely,
yeah.
It is just a game. It is just sport. Really, they shouldn't even be war, but let's not even talk about that. And they should not be anyone losing, functioning of their bodies. But at that level,
I get that.
when you're a Wallaby, when there's hundreds and hundreds of people who would do, who sacrifice a lot to be in that position, you do not break at that level. And that may be a bit toxic male, but that's also Gen Xer, and really, that's also me.
That's all right.
But anyway, so I'm the toxic male, and the only time the toxic male comes out is when I'm watching rugby. I can't help it. I expect some things like you're a Wallaby, and because I'm a woman and I know that women we're bleeding, we have our periods or whatever, and we're still doing really crazy things, cramping while the walls of our uterus are folding. And if you've actually ever seen a diagram of what the fallopian tubes and all that look like, take that out of your mind because that's not what it looks like. Inside us, it's not all nicely laid out. So we've got one here and one here. No, it's all scrunched up, and that's why the pain of it is lethal. Wow. And women play rugby with their periods. So get up, captain of the Wallabies, with your broken Achilles head. And he was a prop, which is.
Imagine all that weight on that tendon, though. Sorry.
I don't care. I mean, I do. I really wouldn't want that on anyone. And please, if you're injured, don't play. Don't even be there. But anyway, so today, but also this is also about the scrums where I'm also a toxic male because I'm from another time when there was no pausing. It was just crouch.
There's this like,
pause.
Just blew the whistle.
It's like, no, I'm sorry. What's all this set? What are they doing? Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's all about safety. Okay.
And then the actual players, people who've actually played, are like, listen, woman, okay, we are really thankful the rules of this barbaric gentleman barbarian game. Anyway, episode 2 is about some of our favorite moments in rugby. We haven't told each other what one is. And we're just taking 2 each, and you've got a surprise prediction. You've got a future one.
Yeah, but I'm not going to mention that.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Well, maybe. We'll see.
So are you going to go first?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, you go first.
Rio Olympics 2016.
Oh my gosh.
Fiji's gold medal.
Wow,
First
of course.
ever gold medal.
Wow.
What a team.
Which team are we talking about?
The Sevens team.
Okay,
rugby sevens.
Women's? No, not men's, right.
Sorry,
okay.
yeah.
Because the women have been kicking ass too, but carry on. Yes, okay. Tell me more.
Yeah, the men's team, yeah.
Yeah.
Fiji's first ever gold medal win in the Olympics, at the Olympics.
Oh my goodness.
Historical moment, I think.
Very historical moment. And I do know. I'm saying, oh my goodness, like I don't know, but of course I know.
Yeah, I just thought I'd have to mention that.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Absolutely. What a moment.
What a moment. What a tournament they had. What a win. They were the most scariest sevens team I had ever seen. Most confident. I've never seen sevens played that way. That team was unstoppable.
Wow.
They could not be beaten.
And who do they play?
In the finals, Great Britain. They won 43-7.
Fiji won against England.
Great Britain.
Great Britain?
Combined team.
Oh. Fiji won against Great Britain.
Yep. How fitting, right?
What year was this? Where was I?
2016, Rio Olympics.
What? Oh gosh, I didn't watch.
Yeah.
2016 was a very busy year for me. I was all over the world, photographing all over the world.
Sevens is not big in Australia, right?
It used to be.
And you were doing.
In 2016, I was very, caring for my mother with cancer and also flying around the world photographing. So, but okay, yeah, absolutely. Yes. What a fantastic! This gets left out of the great moments in rugby, and that is a great moment.
Well, I mean, when you're talking rugby, do we
sevens?
Yeah, do we talk about sevens? Because that
is
still rugby.
That is still rugby. That is basically just rugby played by backs.
Yeah.
So it is still rugby. It is fast. It is clever. It is zip, 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 zip.
Yeah.
But we have explained that we prefer the longer match and the more strategic side of it, where you can you can pick a phase, you can tell what's going to happen 10 phases from now type thing, or 5 phases from now. Sorry, you know.
And to see a sevens move being played out in a 15s game, is crazy because of the space on the field. So 15s is far more.
Well, it's more what we like to watch, but sevens cannot be discounted.
It's exciting.
It's very exciting, and it certainly unites everyone in Fiji.
And more entertaining, I guess.
It is more entertaining.
People want to be entertained.
Yeah. So this is why people in Australia like league. They want to be entertained, and rather than actually understand what's going on. And but rugby union, I know it's the colonizers' game, and when William Webb Ellis decided to pick up the ball instead of kick it, and then another game was formed. But I do find it very clever.
Yeah.
And I find it a very a game that really makes you. It's strategic. You've got to really understand, and also I do like that all shapes and sizes can play it. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to bring the toxic male. I'm not going to bring the toxic male. Don't worry. I'm not going to do that. So I suppose I should share my moment now.
Sure, yeah.
For me, it is when in 2004, it was the Brumbies against the Crusaders, whatever. Who cares? But it was the final, and it was epic. Final. And this is Super 12, back when it was Super 12, 2004 Super 12. Wow. And the Brumbies team might as well have been the Wallabies at that stage. Sure. And I think it was still Rod McQueen. And a Waratah and maybe a Red, that was the captain of the time. Oh no, captain had retired. It was Gregan was the captain by now in 2004. But it was the Brumbies, and they defeated the Crusaders. The final score was 47-38. Now Crusaders, the Canterbury Crusaders, of course at that stage had Dan Carter. Like, who cares? Okay, look, he's good, okay? I'm a fan. I really started to become a fan of him when he retired. He's a really good guy, though. Yeah. But Crusaders were the people the Crusaders team, they just... And, of course, whatchamacallit, the New Zealand coach of the Australian Wallabies, Robbie Deans, used to be with the Crusaders. Anyway, 2004 Super 12... final. It is the Brumbies versus the Crusaders, and I'm pretty sure they were at Bruce Stadium, yes, in Canberra. And this was quite a match. In the first half hour, Crusaders couldn't even get anything in. They'd had no breaks, nothing. It was bang, bang, bang. The Brumbies, and Joe Roth was really on fire. He was winged, I think, on that one.
Yeah, cool. Wow, what a game then. Because
such a game.
The final score was what?
47-38, but for the first half an hour, it was, I think, something ridiculous like 20 to 0, 30 to 0. Wow. I do have more about this
So
somewhere.
that's what happens when you play a Kiwi team. They just come back from nowhere. They know how to win games.
Yeah, whatever, they lost. I don't care, but that is one of my favorite. Um, and so yeah, let me tell you who was. Oh gosh, who was? Let me. I do need to share with you who the team was at this time. So it was Bill Young, who was a Wallaby at that stage. To Jeremy Paul, who was the hooker. So Bill Young was number one prop. Jeremy Paul was hooker. That's number two. Nick Henderson was at three. And Mark Chisholm was one of the locks. And the other lock was Randike Samo, who was the
Wow, cool.
Fijian,
Yeah.
and he was a Wallaby as well, but he was a Brumby, and he was considered one of the oldest players to have played for the Wallabies. So Fijian Randike Samo from Nandi in Fiji. And yeah, so he was a very good lock. It was very at times Brumbies have
I
also
remember
had
him,
Andrew Walker.
Yeah.
Fantastic wing, First Nations origin, where, sadly there were not many opportunities given to all these incredible players of multicultural origin. But of course, the Brumbies had quite a mix of them. And so after Randike at number 6 and number 7 were Owen Finnegan and George Smith. Now, George Smith is Tongan. So,
Yeah.
and when he came out of nowhere to dominate the
What
game.
a 7.
Yeah, what a number 7 he
What a
was.
7.
What a fantastic.
Down, up, keep still.
Yeah. And the other number 8 was Scott Fave. Look, I don't remember him too much. Shame on me. But he was obviously good because he was a Brumby and he was in the final team.
The starting lineup, huh?
And of course, then you have the most perfect back line ever, starting with number 9, George Gregan, and the perfect number 10.
Dan Carter.
How dare you wash your mouth out? You know perfectly well how to rile me, darling, because no. We're talking about the perfect 10, not a wannabe. As I said, I like Dan Carter when he retired. Anyway, but Stephen Larkham was number 10.
Yes.
Perfect number 10 ever. The most incredible mind in rugby, who should really be the Wallabies coach. I don't even know who that is right now, but they were
I
talks.
remember that drop goal he did against South Africa
Oh,
from halfway.
Yeah.
What a kick.
Yeah, he's
Larkham.
Larkham.
Yeah.
I know. Look, I fly half kicks when they know they have nothing else and it's not expected of them. And that's Larkham has always practiced his kicking, but that has been a hit and miss with him, unlike that Wilkinson fool. I don't want to talk about it. But Larkham's strategy and his ability to pick a game and direct a game, and it was absolutely apparent in this. And it's not always obvious because he's not a show pony. Fly halves aren't show ponies. So
Yeah,
they
that's
don't,
right, yeah.
except if you're Dan Carter or Carlos, whatever his name is.
Well, Dan Carter wasn't a show point.
I know.
Carlos though was. A
Carlos
little bit.
was. But actually, if we're
He
going to
was
talk
good,
about fly halves, all the All Blacks fly halves, Merton.
They've been good, huh?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about them. Anyway, Stephen Larkham, Mark Gerard. I remember Gerard. I think he scored in this match. And Matt Giteau. Giteau was actually a wonderful utility back.
Yeah, he was dangerous, man.
Very dangerous wherever he was, and I swear he got called back in the last Rugby World Cup. Because they were or in Bledisloe somewhere recently. Matt Giteau was called back to play, and it's like, wow, that is desperation from the Wallabies currently. I feel very sad for us. And also Australia's very fickle. I mean, hello, listen to me. But yeah, the Wallabies, I guess it's all just, one day they'll be good again right now. But there were a lot of crazy decisions made in between, which I think really dropped the morale. And all of a sudden, when you're playing for business and you're not playing for country, especially in something that is a high stakes emotional game like this, I think then it doesn't matter if you're just playing for a contract. But we'll talk about that another time. And of course, if Mr. Phil Waugh is watching, hello, Mr. Waugh. Remember, I interviewed you. We had a really, really good interview. May I interview you again? Thanks. We'll let you know how that goes. As I'm continuing on, and so Matt Giteau was at 12, and Joel Wilson was at 13. So all the inside centers, and then the other wing was Clyde Rathbone, with Mark Gerard being the other wing. And Clyde Rathbone, he was South African, but he was really, really good.
Yeah, he was a good
and
one.
boy, they'd target him when they would be playing against the South African teams. They would target him something hardcore. And then Joe Roth, was at fullback. And he really, really just dominated this game. But it was so exciting. I didn't watch it live. We used to go down to Canberra to watch a lot of the Brumbies home games because I am wearing a Wallabies cap right now. But I am a diehard Brumbies fan.
Absolutely.
Back then, especially. And so that match to me, they won. But it was the first half an hour that no one really, everyone, the Brumbies were at their peak, I have to tell you, but so were the Crusaders, because the Crusaders might as well have been the All Blacks at that stage. These were basically the feeder teams for the national teams, you know, in Super 12. And so what you were watching in Super 12 was essentially the Wallabies versus the All Blacks.
Of course.
So that first half hour was just absolute bang, 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 try after try after try type thing. And just like the Crusaders were just like, what is happening? But as you said, and I have to be fair, that is the mark of excellent sports people, where they regathered themselves during the first half, not even after the first half, during the first half, and just went, and they really came back. And Carter missed a lot of crucial conversions as well. But it was, Bruce Stadium, and when you're at, really, it's really hard to win a game against your opposite team when the opposite team is playing at home.
Yeah.
Home teams, although the Waratahs used to get quite battered on home ground. It's quite sad, actually. But I feel a bit bad saying that. But the Brumbies in Bruce Stadium, back in the day, it was Brumbies. It was just, and they had the barbershop quartet and other people singing. And I have watched a match at Bruce Stadium it was Brumbies versus Highlanders, and it was snowing. It was snowing. And but it was fantastic. So that's one of my highlights in rugby.
Yeah, wow.
The Brumbies versus Crusaders match of 2004 Super 12 final. And super match. It was just like, what? How was this 80 minutes game over all in 2 minutes kind of thing?
Yeah.
It was superb sportsmanship, superb rugby. Just people at the peak of their,
Yeah, when rugby's played well, both teams play well, it's beautiful to watch.
Yes,
I love
is.
it. I love a good rugby game. And when both teams are just wanting to win, the rugby
Yes,
is
and
absolutely
both are
beautiful.
hungry, and that's when you know that the winner is deserving, but the second person is not a loser. It's not
The
the loser.
respect
It's
is there. It's
the
just like,
team.
wow, that's rugby, man.
You saying that, I have to cite. I can't remember the years. My apologies, but it was when the Lions were touring. Back when the Lions, of course, are made up of like Ireland and Wales,
Yeah, right.
etc. I think some English, right? They're all English team. So they're called the Lions. They have the white jersey, etc. And they played the Wallabies, and it was a three games back when there is a trophy associated with the Lions when the Lions play and come down to the Southern Hemisphere. But the Wallabies ended up winning that trilogy of games, but there was one match where they didn't win, and the Wallabies actually lost. It was tight. I can't remember the details. We'll share with you next time. It was tight. They were really tight match.
Cool.
And going by what you said about two spectacular teams at the height of their, but well-oiled machines. This is when they were connected to each other. When, as soon as the scrum half would bring the ball out, and the fly half has already decided, okay, this is where it's going to go, whatever. One thing Larkham does exceptionally well, used to do exceptionally well, is draw, especially the opposing team's forwards to him. He would take it, the poor guy. No wonder he was always, wrapped up as a mummy because, But he would draw, or he would absolutely, and very rarely would he do this, but he would ghost. And and he would be over the try line because no one expected him to actually take the thing. But he would have set it up.
Absolutely.
His back line all moving and perfect. Oh man, as you said, darling, when rugby is beautiful, it is beautiful. And when it's not, it's like, I'm not watching that. I lost interest in rugby. I lost it until last year's World Cup. I just completely, I suppose one could correlate that with the fact that Larkham retired. I don't know. What's the point of watching a match when no one's got the same kind of brilliance? And all the brilliance left.
Yeah.
All the brilliance left rugby. Anyway, so that's my first. So,
Right.
what's your second?
When last year's World Cup.
Right.
Fiji versus
Oh,
Australia. That
like-
was that was that was the win.
That
Like
was
a big
perfection.
win.
That was the Rugby World Cup done for us.
So my favorite team's the Wallabies.
Yep.
But when Fiji plays the Wallabies, I'm going for Fiji.
So, yeah, I have to
Hands
say
down,
that.
no competition.
I have to say that too.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
And we have our breakdown of that match on Rucks and Rolls, the playlist. So please do go and have a listen to that. It was just the most exciting rugby. We don't talk in terms of statistics and all that technical stuff because who cares? We're all watching for the emotions of the match and how wonderfully the team that represents who we feel we are, plays. But that was.
Yeah, so it's just a pool match, but Fiji had previously lost to Wales, who they play well against Wales all the time. Fiji is always a threat to Wales.
That's interesting.
There's a bit of controversy with that game where Fiji should have won against Wales. There were some tries that blah blah blah. But we won't talk about that. That's not rugby.
The referee.
Wales won.
The
Whatever.
referee. Let's just face this: the referees are always going to be a little bit of a non-rugby player.
Anyway,
Sorry,
so
no.
their second pool match against Australia, which they won 22-15. What a ripper!
What a ripper, mate.
What a ripper! So,
Go, you good thing. And it was the Fijians, the flying Fijians, just choom, choom. It was just, they were so smooth. And
they
now,
brought it to the wall.
as you had said, can we talk about this a little bit? Why? What has changed?
Well, okay, so Fiji always somehow does a little bit better when they're playing the Rugby World Cup. But this team was made up of players who have been playing for an entire season of professional high-impact rugby.
Do we want to talk about them in a separate episode, or are you happy to
Yeah,
talk about it? Because it does
I
need to
think
be
I
unpacked. The
think we need
history
to-
of
yeah.
it needs to be unpacked a little
So
bit
this
more.
team was from a different planet.
Yeah.
Beautifully played rugby.
But you had called it prior to this match because
Sure,
you
yeah.
said these players, now this team is comprised of players who gel, and that also had to do with the coach. So we will talk about
Yeah,
it.
absolutely, 100%. All those things.
All of those things absolutely
big factor,
mattered.
yeah.
So we'll talk about that in upcoming episodes of Rucks and Rolls. So stay tuned. We'll let you know.
Such an exciting game to watch.
So,
I loved it, and big respect to the boys. They
Yeah.
went out full on.
Yes, they did.
They put their best on
Well,
display
this
here.
is the first time Australia didn't make it through the pool matches.
I know.
For Australia
Insane.
to go home losing to Fiji. Look, I'm not going to say that. We didn't say that anymore, like losing to Fiji, like Fiji was the underdog. Fiji was not the underdog.
No, they were
Fiji,
a threat.
they were a threat. And so we'll talk about that a bit more in upcoming episodes.
So, Jamie, like that's what they can achieve after 1 year of
Yeah.
playing high impact,
Yeah.
professional, tier 1 rugby. You want to call that?
Yep.
Imagine what's going to happen over the next few years.
Rugby World Cup 2027.
Huh? Yeah.
Oh yeah, better look out for that.
yeah, that's right.
And hopefully we'll be there commentating for you. We'll be bringing you all the news live
cool.
for Rucks and Rolls Rugby World Cup 2027.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
But
Dream
yeah,
big, right? Dream big.
that's right. And
So is
but-
that your second one? Oh, sorry. What?
Yeah. But they went into the quarterfinals,
Mm-hmm.
which they lost to England. But prior to that, they beat England. So I mean, this Fiji team is
a global
force
team.
to be reckoned with.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
their
global.
captain,
they're playing
the
good
then
rugby.
coach. We will bring you some news about that and to give you some background about Fiji rugby, including some of the issues currently. And we will also be talking about their inclusion into all the bigger competitions, not just being a harvesting place for the
Yeah.
All Blacks and the Wallabies. And we do need to talk about Fijiana,
Oh my goodness.
the
yes.
women's rugby team,
Yeah.
who are just exceptional players. And we will talk about all of this in an upcoming episode. Maybe next week we can
Yeah.
talk about Fiji and rugby and our association with it. So have you got anything else? Did you?
Well, I just also wanted to mention the Wallabies as well. They weren't gelling at all. It was a weird
Yeah.
team, right? That came, and Eddie Jones just came in last minute pick for head coach for the Wallabies for the World Cup. I think it was the same year they picked him.
My face
to
is
coach,
scrunching
yeah.
up. My face is
So,
scrunching
a
up
lot of things
involuntarily.
happened, but I'm not gonna take that win away from the Wallabies, from Fiji,
Fiji, no,
because they came out. It was Rugby World Cup, and if you're playing at that level, You gotta come
Australia
out and play.
didn't field a lesser team. They were just a lesser team.
Yeah,
They didn't. It wasn't like Australia B.
Fiji was better.
Fiji was just better, full stop,
Yeah.
and that's they wanted it, and I think it really mattered to them. It really mattered to this team to beat Australia, and well, they did. So we'll talk about that more. Okay, so my second one that I have to share now. Let me just get some facts for you on this one. It is when it was 2001, and it was the Bledisloe and Tri-Nations Rugby, of course. And this one was John Eel's last Tri-Nations, I know, right? This cap. Oh, this is from the Bundaberg Rum series, and this one was the one against France in Sydney. This is in 2002, but the one I'm talking about, Kefu, Totai Kefu. And this was John Eel's last match, last time, at the head of the Wallabies as captain. And it was a really, really, really tight match, really full on, back in the day, back in the early 2000s, the Wallabies and All Blacks matches were like, oh my God, I would be devastated after each one, or elated. And especially this one, because it was John Eel's last match. It was really, really important that the Wallabies win. And they did win. It was 29-26, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes. And they came from behind, and it was Totai Kefu, the number 8, legendary number 8. You think he played 11 caps as Wallabies, and he's a red, right? He was a red.
Yeah.
One of the few in the Wallabies, but it was no one could see what was going. Well, of course, eels. I forgot. That's right. It's like, how are you captain of the Wallabies and just such a legend, and the Reds can't cop a break? But anyway, so Kefu, do you remember this match?
I do.
They were right on the try line.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everyone was all over him, and they were just like trying to keep the the ball off the ground and whatever. But somehow Kefu, this is a big man, all right, a big man somehow, and everyone's just like, and they didn't have, I guess, all the angles of cameras at that time.
Right, yeah.
But they could see that it was still in his grasp. It was still, and of course the fundamental rule is two hands, but it's not always possible. They're pulling an arm away. You can tell it's like stacks on. Everyone's all over Kefu, and you don't know where he is. And all of a sudden, boom!
The arm just pops out. Yeah.
Oh my God! I remember we all just screamed.
Yo, sleeve.
Oh my gosh, we all this was 2001, so you know what? We hadn't all been devastated by what happened in September of 2001 yet.
That's right, yeah.
But we were all, and really you could hear the scream, the yelling of everybody all around the street, because in those days, even because Bledisloe Cup used to be free to air.
Wow.
So we could everybody was able to watch it. But what a moment, what a legendary moment in rugby, and what a wonderful way for John Eales to be farewelled by his number 8 forward, because forwards aren't known for their try capabilities. Although quite a few forwards like Jeremy Paul and George Smith and Owen Finnegan, Melon, that's what his nickname was, and Kefu. Excuse me. Yeah, Bill Young has once or twice.
Yeah, but
quite a few forwards.
That's because of the number 10, right?
That's because of the number 10. Larkham used his forwards well, and the forwards at the Brumbies, you could see they had a really wonderful relationship. Usually, there's an animosity between forwards and backs. Yeah, right.
Miss the winger and give it to the forward. No one's going to suspect that.
Really, really, really great. So that was a major highlight for me. Kefu, unfortunately, has had a terrible thing happen to him in 2021, mid 2021. He and his family got attacked in their home by teenagers with machetes. And his wife, who is also a professional sports person, water polo or something like that, she almost lost her arm because 4 drunk and high kids. And he got badly injured. And we're talking, it's terrible. And I think earlier this year, 2 of the younger boys and we're talking young, like 13 and 14 boys who got, sentenced to something because they were very aware what was happening. So I do hope that they are okay. But what a terrible thing to happen to anybody. But that's what happened to him in 2021.
Crazy.
Yeah, what a legend of Australian sport. Pacific, really, because he did. His father was a dual national as well, I think. Kefu's father also played rugby, and what a wonderful, yeah. I'm sorry, back in those days, they didn't break. They didn't break. Not even the backs broke. The fly half was wrapped in all sorts of things. They'd have bandages all over and da. But they didn't break. They didn't break. I'm sorry. The toxic male in me sometimes really comes out. They didn't break.
It's rugby, baby. This is rugby. This is rugby.
This is rugby. So I guess it's not rugby anymore. We are in a different generation. I have to take my Gen X toxicity out of it. And I'm really happy because also as someone who has been a parent, and I say that because I used to be a stepmother of children who all played rugby. And very, very well. I mean, some of these kids could have been Wallabies but the commitment required. I mean, when rugby became professional, my ex-partner used to play rugby and was a first grader and was a coach.
Could have been
But back when they played, it was like, everyone just have a durry, and it's time for kickoff, mates, let's go, kind of thing. That's what it was. Yeah, that's right. And then halftime, hot dog and a beer type thing, but not in professional rugby. So it changed, and the commitment required meant you had to be really, really serious. I mean, to the point of Brumbies living down in Canberra couldn't go snow skiing in the chance that they will break something.
Right.
So because rugby is played during winter, of course, so they couldn't go and enjoy the snow. They couldn't do things. It was under strict contracts and stuff like that. You can't do certain things because it's professional. It's a professional thing they're doing.
And they're getting paid.
That's right. So, but it was a wonderful time of rugby back in those days. I really, really, and it is a different time. It's a different generation. I certainly don't, as I was saying, want to see anyone hurt. I will say, because we're all for transparency and truth here, there is some excitement has gone. There's something that was a spark of what's going to happen has gone. I think things now have become predictable, which I don't know if I'm looking at this from a Gen X view and now like, back in my day we used to do. No, I don't mean it to be that, because I don't want anyone hurt. And particularly the forwards in the scrum. Yeah, that is dangerous. This is why they had to build up the necks,
I think it's more the long-term effects as well.
Yeah.
So, head
concussions and terrible bone injuries they all have to live with. I mean, that and MotoGP, back when it was 500, my gosh, motorcyclists have to live with terrible injuries as well, but so do rugby players. Yeah. Now, we haven't talked much about the women's rugby, and we will need to unpack that in episodes coming up. But otherwise, those are four of our favorite moments in rugby, and there's many. We're going to also talk about some of our worst moments in rugby. So we'll talk about that in upcoming episodes. Thank you very much for being here. So there are not our four top, because I can name other top. Oh yeah. But four of our top four of our favorite moments in rugby. And thank you. Your ones are the ones that it's beautiful. Somebody had to fly.
Well, I think it's historical moments for Fiji rugby. It means something to Fijian rugby.
Yes, it does. It's a big deal.
Absolutely. And that gold medal win too, I forgot to mention, was the first time the Olympics had sevens in rugby. So that's double history.
So it was even a bigger thing. Yeah. Because the other thing is, if Fiji didn't win, it would have been quite shit. Fiji people are very hard on their rugby players, actually. I say Australians are fickle when it comes to their sporting teams, but Fiji, it's like you let us all down. Because also the other thing is, if Fiji wins, they get a public holiday. So there's the double thing.
That thing is fantastic.
Yeah, which is great. It's wonderful. Why not have a day to commemorate when an underdog actually does the seemingly impossible? That's right. But Fiji is no longer an underdog. I don't think that they can do that. But anyway, they still Or is that fair to say? We'll unpack this in next week's Rucks and Rolls, coming at you at the same time on Wednesdays, and that's at 6 p.m. unless we reschedule, but keep a watch on our channel.
Yeah.
And that's it for tonight. Thank you very much. As you say, don't forget to
Subscribe, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. It is priceless for us. And we are what we are calling, what I have dubbed televisionaries. We're not for everybody, but that's okay. If we're not for you, we don't want you. That's the bottom line. Thank you very much. Go, you good things. See you later. I'll explain where that quote comes from, that term comes from next week. Bye.